Force taking over AWS On Air. We are your hosts. I'm Ryan Orsi, head of Cloud Foundations Partners, joined by...
Hi, I'm Merritt Baer. I am a principal in the Office of the CISO, Chief Information Security Officer here at AWS, Amazon Web Services, or the cloud.
And this is a show available on Twitch every third Tuesday of the month from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific, starting in August. Security Live is all about AWS and AWS security partners solving security challenges for you, our mutual customers. We like to talk about the latest and greatest trends and technology around security, and we encourage all of you to use the live chat to ask us questions throughout.
That's right. I'm really excited because today we get to talk with Dylan from Tanium, who is a VP of Partner Services there. We're going to talk a little bit about how to know your estate, what you can do about it, and especially like what that grants you, what kind of beauty that gives. And I think this is so important, like those of us who have worked in IT for a while, everyone's nodding their head probably like sadly in the audience. It is such a beauty to be able to even just know what you have, let alone be able to make intelligent decisions about how to secure it. Ryan, you look like you've been through some bad days.
I've had some spreadsheets I'm not proud of, Merritt. I'll admit.
Well, as we know, one of the beauties of, the ability to do virtualization is that you don't have to go out and manually count every endpoint. Dylan, please join us. Give us an intro and tell us about, what you're offering and why this matters, please.
Well, thank you very much, Ryan and Merritt. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Dylan DeAnda. I work at Tanium, and we help our customers solve the problem of just understanding what they have, where it is, who's using it, what's on it, what the vulnerabilities are, and if they've been breached. And then guess what? We give them the ability to take action on that and turn around and fix all those vulnerabilities, fix all those misconfigurations, and reduce their overhead and reduce their costs and improve their risk posture. So I'm excited to be here today, but really happy to talk about how we can make security better and easier and faster.
Yeah, I kind of want to take the low-hanging fruit here and say, can you talk a little more about why this was traditionally a challenge and how it persists to be a challenge, especially across environments, and how you're solutioning for that and how it looks different today, especially with Tanium?
Yeah, I think we've probably all seen this when we go and we sit down and we talk to the operations engineers or the CIO or the CISO or whomever is in charge of all these assets, and we say, all right, let's just start with what you have so we can get it to where it needs to be. And you say, so how many computers or devices do you have on your enterprise network right now? And CIO will look over at the CISO and say, about 250,000, right, Bob? Yeah, between 250 and 300,000, right, Jim? That's what the spreadsheet says. And
Ryan made it. So I mean, it must be true.
Yeah, she says it. But if you are guessing at that range and that wide of a range, there's a big problem there. And if you can't see the device, you can't manage it, you can't secure it, and all is lost. The kingdom was lost for the want of a nail. I think that's what we're here to do is really identify everything that you have, where it is, who's using it, what's on it, vulnerabilities, and help you fix it really quickly. I think the problem out there is most recently within the last 3 to 5 years, we see that adversaries are getting faster. They're getting more talented. They're starting to use cloud-based services for attacks. Now it's ransomware as a service. It's cloud hashing. They're getting good. They're getting big. We also see that you've got everybody moved and worked from home. If you remember back in the early days of the pandemic, everybody rushed into the office, grabbed their monitor, grabbed their keyboard, grabbed their workstation, and went with their mouse dragging out the back. And then you lost visibility of every single one of those devices. And now you've got somebody's children are doing their homework on a corporate laptop or a corporate device that's got intellectual property and corporate secrets on there. And that's just a big old exposure to vulnerability that I don't think we need to have. So if you can see it, you can manage it. And if you can manage it, you can secure it and take action when bad things do happen.
And so Dylan, yeah, I totally agree. And I'm coming from a place of humility in that spreadsheet I'm talking about from my past. What's the way that an actual practitioner maybe listening out here who has this job, this pressure on them to know their estate, cloud, other environments, what's this solution going to do for them that's really going to help make their job easier?
Yeah, imagine if you will, you've got a global organization and you've got 500,000 computers that you're in charge of managing and making sure that they don't get breached. Wouldn't it be nice if, you could ask a question and in seconds get the answer back? What computers are online right now? Who's logged into those computers? What patches are missing? What patches are installed? And getting that information in seconds at scale from the devices themselves. And you don't need hundreds of computers out there to do this. We can do it from the cloud today, and we're doing it for our customers on AWS today.
Yeah,
And
tell me a little bit more about that. Like, how do they take advantage of this? How does this interact with AWS services? What does it look like to decide, like, hey, Dylan, this sounds great. Where do I go?
yeah, so you can sign up on the AWS Marketplace, but really we saw the old school way of doing things on premises of multiple data centers, lots of compute power, lots of people to maintain those, lots of maintenance contracts to run through. And oh, by the way, you've got to continuously update and upgrade and continuously keep up with releases. When we switched up to AWS and Tanium Cloud, all of a sudden that went away for our customers. And no longer do you have to, hold infrastructure. No longer do you have to have data center space. You no longer have to worry about upgrades or continuing to keep up in parity with the latest release. It's all done for you.
And how do you, sorry to interrupt you, but we only have so much time. I am so thirsty. How do you keep up with those releases? Like, what's your internal process to make sure that you're, pushing the right stuff to the right place and that you're up to, industry standards?
It's really about continuously learning and reading and getting enabled and keeping that knowledge flow going. I like to read Slashdot. I like to read release notes. Believe it or not, I find the huge value in release notes because you know what to do and what not to do. So, there's the old saying, read the doggone manual. Release notes are my best friend.
Ryan, go ahead. You had one more.
I've got, this is such a great topic. It's pulling back my past lives or coming forward. I've had a lot of lives, Dylan, and they've been pretty interesting. But
Ryan is actually like 1,000 years old. He just takes very good age.
I do.
Rectifying beauty routines.
It's about the night face cream. But anyways, somebody was crazy enough to put me in charge of several networks at one point in time, and I did have the magical spreadsheet from the sky. And there were some early solutions before Tanium was available. But I'm thinking, coming from that position of you have a lot of activity. So someone watching today, a lot of activity, a lot of projects on their plate currently. A solution that could take away some of their challenges sounds great. From experience, sometimes you don't have a lot of time to take on a new project, to train staff, to go deploy something. What do you do at Tanium there to make that process a bit easier?
Well, I've seen it. If you don't plan it, it doesn't get deployed. If you don't deploy it, it doesn't get used. If it doesn't get used, there's really no value for those customers to realize. And so we've got a great partner ecosystem out there full of, consulting services, professional services, managed services providers. And we really see them thriving and booming in this industry. But having the conversation early on in the sales process, rather than waiting until the 11th hour and someone says, oh, you know what? Who's going to deploy this? Was it going to be Stephanie? Well, she runs Active Directory and she also runs a backup. So let's just have her run this as well. But Stephanie's overloaded, overworked right now, and she's got to focus on those other mission priorities.
I mean, prayers to everyone who runs Active Directory, first of all. Yeah, exactly.
We all have our pains. No crosses to bear. So, I think really going with, the assumption that services are going to be included, and we've got great partners that can take care of those things for you. It's got to be done. And when you do it right, you receive much bigger benefits in the experience and the journey, rather than just kind of limping along and struggling.
And how do you surface them? And why is that kind of unique to cloud in a sense?
Yeah, imagine, if you will, a benchmark that was per industry that you could look at a composite score of risk, for example, looking at all the asset inventory that you have that you know about, you don't know about, looking at all of your vulnerabilities, looking at all your configuration compliance based on CVE scores or vulnerabilities based on CVE scores, looking at all those factors and bringing them all together and trying to understand where are we now, and then starting the clock and saying, okay, over the next quarter, we can tick that risk score down and down and down. So by being able to pull like the real data from the endpoints and in seconds, and then calculate that into a risk score on the fly, that the board, the CIO, the CISO, the directors, the engineers, the operators can actually look and view and say, hey, I'm doing a good job. And that change window that we just went through, look, it dropped our risk score by 50%, y'all. That was great. Let's keep going. So
Yeah.
I think that's why it matters is getting the real data, pulling it back, putting it in context of criticality of what matters to your organization, and then monitoring it and keeping it going. So we provide that today, and our partners are out there doing that today. We call it a Tanium risk assessment, but it takes about 5 days, and it is extremely insightful.
Cool. Yeah. This seems complementary to more holistic things like a well-architected, I think the sense, at least that I have from I work in AWS security, is like, the point is not to gamify your metrics. The point is to actually get better over time, and so how do we have confidence that we are really doing that? And that's really valuable and able to then provide a motivator for the business to invest more in security.
Empirical data. You got empirical data.
You can't secure what you can't see. You can't improve what you can't measure. So I think that.
Stop it with the tropes. Ryan, ask him something fun because we're almost out of time.
I'd like to know, Dylan, what's for dinner tonight?
Ooh, so I have to tell you, I live in Montana. Whitefish, Montana, the most beautiful place on earth. And we are going to have elk steaks tonight, along with some yams and corn. It's going to be good. It's a high carb meal, but it's a good, lean, rich meat that is just delicious. So I can't wait
I'm in Denver, so I could just pop over there.
Give us some. Don't be stingy.
I'll make you one up for you.
Sounds delicious. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. Ryan, thank you for being my partner in not crime. And folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you again soon, both at Reinforce and then regularly on our show. Ryan, remind them when it is. I'm a mom brain. I don't know.
The third Tuesday of every month, 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific.
Tune in.
All right. Thanks, folks. See you soon.
Thank y'all.